For Module 5, we have 3 lessons. The first one is we're going to talk about functions. So in this lesson class, you'll be able to differentiate between relation and function, then evaluate functions. The next one is we're going to determine domain and range of a function or a relation. And then finally, we're going to evaluate operations in function. So nani siya operations? We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and composition. Na inadagdag na composition. So let's start with the theory behind relation and function. So when we say relation class, it talks about connection or relationship. Let's say ikaw nakayuyab, so kanang na may relasyon. And then aside from that, dili po ta magbiga-biga kung ato na siya apply sa science. Let's say ang pressure ug ang height nasa lay relasyon. So you have pressure and height. So let's say we're going to talk about air pressure. Okay, diba? We have 2 types of pressure. I mean, dili lang duha ka types. Actually, daghan na siya type of pressure. We have air pressure, water pressure, and also pressure experienced by a solid object. So for air pressure, so we have 2 variables here, the air pressure and the height. So if ever mo increase ang atong height or ang ato altitude, let's say you are climbing on the top of the mountain, let's say Mount Everest. So at the top of Mount Everest, of course, our pressure decreases. So therefore, by these two variables, pressure and height, we have a relationship that exists, meaning they have connection. But for the definition of our function class, ang ato function is that it indicates whether our relation, so siyang air pressure, works. So mao ni siya class ang function. Siya mo decide whether ang atong relationship is magwork ba. Let's say ikaw imong relationship sa usa ka tawo, do you think magwork na given nga imong magipang buhat? So nga na gina siya class. Ma-apply gyud nato bitaw di na kalikayan. Sir bigaon si sir kay irritating nga na ma-apply gyud na siya class kay na magitay relationship. So but in mathematics mo na siya ang relation kay it talks more on connection, then function is magwork ba. So mara siyang question, magwork ba na ang atong napili nga kanang relation. Okay. So let's jump with ordered pairs. So sa relation of function class, it is represented by at least 2 variables. So we have here the ordered pairs. So ordered pairs. Of course, since man sila, naman sila connection, so at least duha. Pwede siya og pwede siyang tulo, but the 3 variables you can met that one on higher subjects or higher mathematics, but in this time we just consider 2 variables. So for an ordered pair class, you have the first number represented by x, the second one is represented by y. So meaning there is a connection that exists between our first variable x and the second variable y. Now sila, these 2 right here, they have a lot of names. You can call this one as the first number, and of course this one is your second number, and then this one, the first number would be our input. So let's prove why input na siya. So we need to have an actual example for this. So later na lang. And then atong second number pod is also called as output. So another term is output. Since we have input, of course, it corresponds to an output. And then next, input will be considered as an independent variable. Independent. Okay, so meaning it can stand alone. It does not rely on other factors or other variables. Whereas our output here, since this one is the result of our input, so therefore it is dependent upon our input. So this is a dependent variable. And then lastly, the independent variables, this is considered as the domain. So the domain, meaning siya yung nagdikta, so it leads the result of our dependent variable. That's why our dependent variable is also called as the range. So whatever your domain is will be the resulting range of your dependent variable or your output. So again, your first number is your input, and it does not depend on any other factors, and it is considered as the domain because it leads your dependent variable. Whereas your second number, represented by y, is of course the outcome of your input, which is known as the output, and it always depends upon the value of your input. That's why it is called dependent. And then of course it is the resulting value of your domain, which is called as the range. So here, ang ordered pairs is not limited to x and y. You can have here g and h, or you can have a and b, but for the purpose of uniformity, since a lot of books always use ordered pairs x and y, so let's stick to this standard notation x and y, because later on as we graph these ordered pairs, we are encouraged, or it is recommended, to graph this on a Cartesian coordinate system, wherein that system uses x and y axis. So therefore mas comfortable siya if kani atong gamiton x and y. And then in order for us to visualize these names here, kani sila mga names, so let's have a real life example. Suppose you have a bank here. We have a bank. Of course, unsay trabaho sa bank? Ang bank, it will add an interest to our money. So ang atong money mo grow or motubo in Bisaya. So for a bank, let's say we have here an exaggerated 10% interest. So 10% interest per month. Okay, and then suppose you have a lot of money because you work hard, you exert a lot of effort, so therefore you decided to deposit a certain amount of money. So this would be your deposited money. You deposit a money. Let's say you deposit a certain amount of money x. So again, since this is our system, the bank, of course, your deposited money will be considered as your input. Okay, so we now already applied the first definition of our first number, which is our input. And then since you deposit it on a bank, and then after a month, of course, it will grow. So that's why you'll be able to withdraw a certain amount of money. So this would be your withdrawal. And we can represent this by another variable, which is your y. So meaning this would be your output. So again, why this one is called independent? Because of course, ang pag-deposit nimo sa imong kwarta is it does not depend on anything here, because it's up to you. Like ikaw may mag-decide kung how much money are you going to deposit. So wala siya nagdepende on any other variables aside from this interest, since in our example we only have interest and withdrawal. So nothing more, nothing less. So therefore, input is just an input alone. So it depends upon yourself. It does not depend upon the interest and the withdrawal. So therefore, it is called as the independent variable. And then next, why the output? Why this is considered as dependent? Because of course, the amount of money that you're going to get from a bank after a certain period of time, let's say 1 month, 2 months, will depend upon the amount nga imong gi-deposit. Let's say if you deposited kuan 30 pesos, so therefore ang imong interest ana is kuan 3 pesos. So therefore after 1 month magiging 33 na siya. So therefore our output here depends upon the amount of money that you are deposited and also the interest of the bank. So therefore it cannot stand alone. It depends upon other variables. That's why it's called dependent. And then next, why is it called a domain? So for our input x, of course, when you say domain class, these are all the possible values of our input. Diba? In your amount, ang imong amount na gi-deposit, of course, it is not limited to a single amount of money. You can deposit any money, but it depends upon the bank. I think the maximum is 100,000 or 500,000. I don't know, maybe deposit or withdrawal. So let's say you can deposit 100 peso or 200 peso or 300, so on and so forth. So this option, kaning imong option area, mo na siya imong domain. And then this option, of course, every option here corresponds to every option here too. Let's say here is 110, here is 220, here is 330 after a certain month. So therefore, each value of your domain, that's why it is called domain, because you have a lot of options, a lot of values that you are going to input to your dependent variable x, corresponds to a specific amount of your output, which is your range. So therefore, all the possible values of your output is termed as your range. So class, nasabtan na? Nasabtan na? Okay. Then, after having the theory, of course, we are now ready to differentiate between relation and function. So from the previous, katong gingon niyo ordered pairs, mo-apply to siya both relation and function. Actually, relation and function, they are in other case the same, but in some case both of them are different. Okay, here we have for the relation. So let's talk about the relation first. Again, what is the relation? It talks about connection. And then function talks about or indicates whether our relation works. So for a relation class, input correspond to at least one output. Let's say we have an ordered pair, since we're talking about ordered pairs. Diba? The first number is our input. So let's say if I input 2, the output is 5. Since it states here na isang input corresponds to at least one output. So therefore, you can have at least 3 or more. I mean, you can have 2 or more outputs for a certain input. Let's say nag-input na sa kaog 2, your output is 6. Input na po kaog 2, your output is 7. Now, if we're going to draw this using this tree diagram, let's say our input is 2, then we have several outputs, 5, 6, and 7. Of course, 2 to 5 has a relationship, 2 to 6 has a relationship, 2 and 7 has a relationship. Therefore, even if usara mong input, then for a single input, the output, this is still considered as a relation. However, for our function class, it states here that input correspond to only one output. So what does it mean? Meaning, the input is unique siya for every output. So let's say you have an input of 2. 2 is only intended for 5. So you cannot say that 2 is also intended for 6. It's not that way because the 2 was already assigned to 5. So kani siyang 2 and 6, ma-crush out na ni siya. Kay, di na siya ma-considered as a function. But, you can have 3 to 5. Why? Because you have another na po, another or unique nga input. So as what I have told you, dapat class, you have a unique input for every output. So here we have 2 and 5, 3 and 5, and then we have 4 and 5. So here, these are all functions. So this ordered pair here, so list of ordered pair here are considered as functions because in this list, so kailangan class, mako-consider natin na function or relation yung isang entity is composed siya of 2 or more ordered pairs. So here, this list of ordered pairs here is considered as a function because the input is unique. But even if na sila'y difference yung relation tsaka function, but they come up with a common or the same idea wherein your output correspond to at least one input. So what does it mean? Here you have a single output. Let's say my output here is 5, and then from this 5 you have at least one input. So you have 2 or more inputs. So let's say I input 2, the result is 5. If I input my machine of 3, the answer is still 5. If I input 4, the answer is still 5. If I input 6, the answer is still 5. So here you can have an ordered list or ordered pair of 2 and 5, 3 and 5, and then 4 and 5, and then lastly 6 and 5. Again, to make it short class, a relationship does not have a limit. So meaning no limit na siya. No limits. Of course, kung naay connection ang usa ka entity sa usa ka entity, meaning walay limit. Sila'y bahala kung say mahitabo sa ila. Whereas ang function class kay naman siya limit, iya ragi considered ang kadtong mga relation nga mag-work. So therefore, naa ay limitation. So here, since kani siya class sa ato ang definition, sa ilahang kanang common nga definition class kaning 2 5 3 5 4 5 6 5, although nagbalik-balik ang output, but for a function class we only look for the input. Since our input here is unique for every ordered pairs, so therefore this will be considered as a function. So to summarize class, for a relation class, it is one to many and many to one, meaning has no limits, wala siya gisunod nga mga rules. So to visualize this, let's say I have an ordered list. So let's say we have here an input x sub 1, x sub 2, and x sub 3, then an output of y sub 1, y sub 2, y sub 3. Kapag sinasabing one to many, let's say I have one input corresponds to many outputs. So this is what it means for one to many. So one input correspond to many outputs. So kani siya, mo na siya. That is a relation. And then on the second, it says many to one, meaning you have 2 or more inputs, or you have many input corresponding only to one output. So let's say x sub 2 and x sub 3 is linked to y sub 1. Okay, this is a relation. But in summarizing a function, we only have one definition, which is, it states here, many to one. Meaning class, a function only exists, let's say x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 3, then y sub 1, y sub 2, y sub 3. A function can only be accepted or applicable if you have many inputs that will correspond to a single output. So we have here this one. Why? Because for every ordered pairs here, our our input variable or our domain or the independent variable is unique for every ordered pairs here, diba? Ordered pairs 1 is x1 y1, number 2 is x sub 2 y sub 1, number 3 is x sub 3 y sub 1. So unique sila, class. That's why function. But if ever ang x sub 1 is, let's say I am going to connect this with y sub 3, do you think, class, it is still a function or not? Okay, dili na siya. So this hidden line right here does not represent a function anymore because x sub 1 is already repeated. So again, dapat isang beses lang magkaroon ng isang input because the input here is unique for every ordered pair. So para pa jud inyo ni masabtan, so if we're going to relate this on our sa atong kinabuhi, so as you can see, mas mahirap magmahal ng marami kaysa sa yung karamihan magmahal sa iyo. So di ba? Kung naakay, let's say kung kung naakay uyab class, then mag-cheat pa gyud ka sa uban. Then mag-cheat pa gyud ka sa lain. Let's say mga sakaglaing dapit na po kay naagian ngadto. So kana siya, it will just make things complicated. So di na siya mag-work because although na may relationship, so relationship naman na relation naman na may connection, but di na siya mag-function. Kay ang mag-function na class is mas better nga ang tanang tao, or like let's say your family, your friends will love you. Kana siya mo function gina siya. But ang kanang relationship nga ikaw nagmahal ka sa imong uyab, tapos nagmahal po ka sa imong kabit, nagmahal po ka sa uban pa mga kabit nimo, so kana siya, di na siya mag-work. So tama ba? Tama, class? Someone relate much? Di ay butan di ay kana jud kana. Okay, so let's proceed to the next topic. So since we are dealing with relation and function, and then we are going to apply this in a mathematical expression, or we are going to express this mathematically. So to express this two entities, relation and function, so in our books, in mathematics books, they normally denote this as f, okay, para shortcut for function, f of x. This f of x denotes our dependent variable. So dependent variable. And then what is the inside variable of our f of x? The inside variable here is our si x. What is this x? The x inside here is our independent variable, this x inside. So here, this represents our dependent variable. And then of course, x alone represents our independent variable. Independent variable. Okay, but f of x can also be written as, wait lang, may nag-join. So this f of x here can also be written as y. So f of x can be written as y because the two of them are kanang nag-represent po sila sa dependent variable. So kaning duha f of x, or you can just write y. But not only f of x, you can also write here g of x. You can also have here h of x. All of them denotes your dependent variable. So it's up to you, class. It's up to you, good. Okay, so since we are already to with how to annotate function and relation mathematically, okay, if we're going to plug in some expression here, let's say our dependent variable f of x is equal to a polynomial function. Let's say x squared plus 2x plus 1. So here, as you can see, the left side is your dependent variable, so dv, and then the right side is your independent variable iv. So ingana na siya, class. And then here, since we're dealing with notation, class, sa ato kitaon kung unsay mga the methods to annotate our function or kanang relation. So the first one is by defining the equation of the function or relation. So here we include the equation. So you just write the small letter f. So these are you're going to define for the first method, f, and then the next one is equal sign. Then we have here an open bracket, and then you write this symbol for ordered pairs. Diba? Ordered pairs is represented by parentheses, first number, then comma, second number, close parentheses. And the next, after writing the ordered pair, you also draw a straight line. Straight line is read as such that, so we have a function f equals open bracket an ordered pair of x and y such that our y, which is our independent variable, is equal to the function of x or f of x. So here you are going to input the equation or the expression. So input expression here. So kanina you have y is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 1. This x squared plus 2x plus 1 would serve as your f of x here. So nga na siya, class. And then after that, after writing f of x, you write comma, and then you also need to list all the values of x. Again, what are those values of x represented for? It represents our domain. So domain. And I think I already discussed with the domain on the first section, the first part of this discussion. So write the domain here, and again, this would look like this: x is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1/2, 1/4, etc. So yan na siya, class. You need to include that one if you're going to annotate in this method. The next one is the ordered pairs. So for ordered pairs, class, medyo mahaba yung method. Again, the same with the first method, just write f and then equal sign, then write again this bracket. So open bracket and then write the ordered pairs. So diba, ordered pairs is represented by parentheses, x and y, close parentheses. So just this one, x and y, and then that it depends upon the number of ordered list or ordered pairs. Let's say we have here let's say the square. So example the square of a number from 1 to 5. So meaning our independent variable here is this 1 to 5, and then by definition our 1 to 5 represents our domain. So let's say if we input 1 here for our first domain or for our first value of x, of course, since it was stated here in our example that the square of the number, so meaning square of 1 is just 1, so that would be our dependent variable or our range. Next is 2, then square of 2 is 4, then the next one followed by 3, the square of that one is 9, then next is 4, the square of that one is 16, and then the final one is 5, the square root is 25. So as you've noticed, this is how you are going to represent a certain equation or a certain function into this form in ordered pairs. For ordered pairs, class, ang iyahang pros is um, you can see the values of your domain and your range. So imigid siya makitaan every unique values for every domain and range. Whereas sa first method class, di niyo siya makitaan. You can only see the formula or the input nga function. But here, makakita din ka o mga ordered, makakita din ka o kanang domains and range for our second method. But however, ang cons lang niya is that in writing ordered pairs, it would be time consuming, especially if the number of domains is of a higher value. Let's say our domain is from 0 to positive infinity. Diba? We don't know kung asa ayahang utlanan, or we don't know where it ends. So therefore, wala kuan pod kanang pagsuwat pod nimo ani makanag mo na magtaas. So therefore, you consume a lot of space and consume a lot of time. But anyways, on some on other problems with class, more or less ila magilimit ang ilahang domain. Let's say from 1 to 5 lang based on this example, or you can have from 1 to 20, so gilimitan nila. So you can still write your function by this ordered pair nga method. But let's proceed na lang sa last one. The last one is by using the correspondence. So again, in writing this method, you just write again the small letter, but this time this is not an equal sign anymore but a colon. So colon, the next you write the independent variable x, and then you write an arrow towards the left. It will be read as x corresponds to our y. Y right here is our variable, and then you can also represent this as a function, or the formula for your function. Again, as tayo formulas ng function, let's say if you're given y is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 1, so you can just write x squared plus 2x plus 1. And the next, after writing the formula for our function, put a comma and then write or list all the domains. So x equals to the domain. So that's it, class. Just remember these three. We have the first is defining the equation, next one is by ordered pairs, and the third one is the correspondence. Okay, let's say we have an example. In order to visualize this, so siya erase. Let's say you are given a function y is equals to 2x plus 1, wherein your domain approaches to this list of real numbers from 1 to 5, 3, 4, and 5. Now represent this function into the tree notation. So let's start with the first notation, wherein we're going to define the equation. So here again, just write small letter f, then equals, open bracket, then copy the ordered pairing notation, then such that vertical, then y is equals to 2x plus 1, and then after that list all the domains. So x is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then close bracket. Okay, so that's it, class, for the first notation. About the second one, ordered pairs. So here, what will you do? Class, what will you do? You are only given with a domain x, or the values of x. What will you do, class, in order to get our value of y, so that we can represent an ordered pair in terms of x and y? So how are you going to do that, class? Any idea? We are already given value of x. So again, ansay paan pamagi? Okay, so sakto. We need to substitute the domain, or the values of our x, to our function, which is y equals to x plus 1, in order to have an ordered pair. So here we have an ordered pair f is equals to the open bracket and then the first order, I mean the first pair. So the first pair we have x equals to 1, the second is 2, next is 3, next is 4, and the final one is 5, then close bracket. So here for 1, we substitute this to our equation or our function. So we have 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Then for 2, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Next is 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So as you've noticed, we have a pattern here which is the odd number starting from 3. So this is 3, 5, 7. Automatic this is 11. And this is 13. So here, we already now have an ordered pairs. And again, I have a question class. From this ordered pairs class, is it a function or a relation? How about the others? Mag-count ko be? Mag-roll call ko be? How about Mr. Handumon? Unsa man na siya? Function or kanang relation? Function. Why function man? Saman, yan ang function man na siya. Kaning 1 and 3, 2, 5, 3, 7, 4, 11, and 5, 13. Why you consider this one as a function? From the previous nga section, taong gi-discuss ganiha. Kay saman, tungod kay unique. So again, tungod kay unique ang value sa atong variable x. So the first pair is 1, second is 2, the next is 3, the next is 4, and then the last one is 5. So therefore, unique siya. Okay, so mo na siyang answer. Therefore, unique siya for every pair. Kana siya. Mo na siya. Wala nagbalik ang imong x here or your domain, so therefore this is a function. Okay, 4 and 5 asa? ODI 9. Okay, sorry. Thank you for correcting. So this one is 9-11. Excited no? Advance kayo 7-11 dayon. 7-11 ganahan gid siguro 7-11. Okay, nara. 7, 9, and 11. Okay, siya mga odd numbers. So base po na siya sa atong function. So again, take note with that one. And then class, can we consider this one as a relation or not? Kanisya. Since you told me that this is a function, can we consider this one as a relation? Unsa man? Is it yes or no? Why? Kakit mo yan yes! Ngano yes? Ngano yes man? Correct. Sakto. Okay. Sige. Let's proceed to the third nga notation. So, in terms of correspondence. So, again, for a correspondence class, write F and then you have here a colon. But actually, class, kani siyang F, the first letter here, you can use G. Basta small letter lang class for G of X. Here, this is only for f of x class, kaning f. You can also use G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, all the alphabets. So you can use, but here, standard lang ta for a function f, f na lang para dali. So we have here a small letter f, and then write the independent variable x, and then of course this one, the arrow, meaning corresponds. So x corresponds to our dependent variable y. And what is our dependent variable y? That is 2x plus 1. And then write the comma and then list all the domains. So x is from 1, 2, 3, 4 hanggang 5. So that's it, class. Ingana pag-notate or pag-annotate of functions and relations. So let's proceed to differentiating between functions and relations. So here I will give you some list of ordered pairs, and then try to tell whether this one is a relation or specifically a function, because all list of ordered pairs class kay relation naman guna siya. Ang ato lang ani is um, let's determine kung kani siya nga ordered list is a function or not a function. So here we have an ordered list of 1 and 4, then we have 2 and 5. Next is 3 and 6. The next is 4 and 7. Okay, in order to tell whether this one is a function or not a function, you only need to do here is just write all the values of your first number or your x or your domain or your independent variable. So here, what are the values of our domain class? So the first pair is 1, the second is 2, the next is 3, and then the last one is 4. So after listing all the values of our domain class, the next step is you need to make a judgment. Let's say if na nag-repeat, so meaning if there is a number at least one nag-repeat, so if repeating, therefore our judgment here is not a function. So di siya function class if ever there is a certain value of our domain that repeats twice or thrice or one or more. And then if non-repeating, so if wala, hindi nakaulit yung isang variable dyan, so meaning that is a function. Okay, for our example 1 class, what is this? Based on our judgment here, is this a function or not? So man, function. Okay, so this is a function. Okay, there is no value of your domain that repeats twice or thrice or more. Okay, let's go to our second example. Let's say you have here an ordered list 1 and 4, 2 and 4, the next one is 3 and 5, next one is 6 and 10. Again, we write the values of our domain. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 6. So based on our judgment class, what is this? Is this a function or not a function? Okay, function kay there is no value of your domain that repeats twice or thrice or more. So this is a function. How about this? Let's say you have an ordered pair of 1 and 3, then we have 3 and 1, and the next is 1 and 4, and then the next one is 2 and 4, then the last one is 3 and 6. Okay, so what is this class? What is your judgment? Is this a function or not? Nga naman, why? Why is it this is only a relation? Why nga nung dili man siya function? Okay, so the values of our domain, let's say this one here is repeated to our third ordered pair, di ba? Sa ika-third na ordered pair, ibalik si 1. The same thing with 3, which is the ordered pair number 2, is repeated to our last ordered pair. Okay, so this is not a function. So not a function. Okay, let's try another example. Let's try a function that is annotated by another notation. Okay, kani siyang annotation is ordered pair. How about if you're given this one? Let's say f in a correspondence nga method. So let's say x corresponds to y squared minus 9. And then such that our y approaches, so if you met this symbol approaches to, if you met also this one, this represents a real number. So again class, di ba from our previous is that ang kanin siyang part here is dapat sana the list of your values of x. Here is the list of value of y. So what is this class? What does it means? Kanin siyang y approaches real number. Is it what? Ano saman siya? Domain, range, ano saman siya? Range. So therefore, we are given with a range. So let's right here we have a range of all real numbers. So dili na nato ilista all real numbers class. We can just write negative infinity. Let's say we have here -2, -1, then 0, then we have 1, then 2 hanggang positive infinity. Kaya man siya from all real numbers, so negative infinity to positive infinity. For the purpose of simplicity class, we just choose a boundary or just a portion of our real number para ma-verify nato whether naabay nag-repeat sa iyahang domain or wala. Kaya di ba? Di ba ta pwede class nga mo judge dayon ta class based on the range. Again, if mo judge ta og function whether it is a function or not, magbase ta sa ato ang value sa atong domain. So since ang given diri is range, dili ang domain, so we need to solve muna. Let's say kanilang sa ato ang kitaon class. Kanila to i-consider kay dako magod. I mean dako og coverage ang ato hang range kay from negative infinity to positive infinity. So let's just consider a portion of our range which is from -2 to +2. Okay. So what is the formula for our function? So since it is in terms of y, this is y squared minus 9. So therefore, our function now is x is equals to y squared minus 9. So baliktad na siya. Unlike from the previous that we are given with y is equals to, let's say, a function of x, so 2x plus 1. Here, since this is in terms of y, so therefore our variable now on the left side is already our independent. So basig may buong mo class nga ang y diri kay nahimo na siyang dependent. No. Again, let's stick with our convention that y represents our dependent variable and x represents our independent variable. So here, this is our equation. So in order to solve for the range class, for the domain, of course, we need to plug in the values for our y. Since we choose that our y is equal to -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, by using the formula, we can also arrive a specific value for our x. So let's say for -2. So -2 squared is 4 minus 9 is -5. Next one, -1 squared minus 9 is -8. Then 0 squared is 0, minus 9 is -9. 1 squared is 1 minus 9 is -8. And then 2 squared is 4 minus 9 is -5. And then after that one, since we already have a value for our x and y, then we can represent this one by using our ordered pairs. So we have here an ordered list. What is our first pair? Kani siya. Dapat magtungod. So kani siya ang second, then third, fourth, and so on. The first list, mag-una gid na sa x ha, di pwede ma-interchange. We have -5 and -2. The second is -8 and -1. The third one is -9 and 0. And then the fourth one is -8 and 1. The last is -5 and 2. And then so on and so forth from positive infinity. The same thing with this, so on and so forth here. Okay, this is just the portion of our range. So class, based on our judgment from the previous na mga examples, since we are already given with our ordered pairs here, So what would be our answer? Is this a function or not? Ano man? Okay, so since kanin siya, the values of our x here, negative 5, is repeated on the last part. The same thing with our negative 8, gi-repeat po siya sa second to the last nga ordered pair. So therefore, this is not a function. So not a function, but only a relation. Okay. So question, class. Do you have a question so far? Wala? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, so let's proceed to the next topic. So the next one is, we are going to evaluate a function or a relation. So in evaluating a function and a relation, class, maragid ni inyo tigaman, substitution. Okay, so let's say you're given a rational function, f of x is equals to x squared minus 9 all over x minus 3, such that our f of 2 satisfies our function. And then another one is we have f of a plus 3. So what does this 2 right here, class, which is inside this parenthesis, what does this 2 right here represent? So any idea unsa man siyang 2 ari, class, nga nasa sulod sa ato ang kanang parenthesis? This is the value of your saman. Okay, this is the value of your domain. So kaning gayong sulod sa parenthesis mo na siyang imuhang i-substitute, di ba? I told you in evaluating a function relation, more on substitution gina siya yung root nga word. Here also, for our second, what is the value of our x here? Saman dire, sa second na to. The value of our, okay, so the value of our x is a plus 3. So let's start with f of 2. So let's say this is f of 2. And then here we have f of x is equals to x squared minus 9 all over x minus 3. And then I'll just put ahead a restriction wherein our x should not be equal to 3. Okay, so here substitute, class, because we know that we have f of 2. So f of 2 is just equal to 2 squared, because we just substitute the value of our x here, 2 squared minus 9 all over 2 minus 3. Here 2 squared is 4 minus 9, 2 minus 3 is negative 1, then 4 minus 9 is negative 5 all over negative 1. The answer is 5. So therefore our f of 2 in this rational function is equivalent to 5. The second one, let's say you have an f of a plus 3. This time our value of our x is a plus 3 na siya. Okay, diba? A plus 3 is inside the parenthesis. So we have here f of a plus 3 is just equal to x squared. So ang x na to is a plus 3, then squared, then minus 9 divided by a plus 3 minus 3. So simplify. This is a binomial expansion of with an exponent of 2. So just use the shortcut method wherein the product of the binomial term, so 3 times a is 3a times the exponent, so we have 6a. So that would be our middle term. The first term is square nimo, middle term plus 6a, last term is square sa last na term, so we have here 9 minus 9 all over a plus 3 minus 3. As if it is 3 minus 3 is 0, 9 minus 9 is 0, so what's left is a squared plus 6a all over a. Class, do you think this is now our final answer? Okay, dili pa siya. Why? Because ansa man? Okay, since remember class, remember your previous nga mga knowledge regarding sa ato mga discussion. So i-apply dito nimo tanan from factoring to simplifying rational expressions, algebraic expressions, etc. So here, since the numerator both terms have a common factor of a, so we can factor out this a. So we now have a times a plus 6, then divided by a. Since we have a common here for both numerator and denominator, to be cancelled out, the final answer is a plus 6. So this would be our value of our function if our domain x is equal to a plus 3. Question. Okay, wala. Let's proceed to the next one. So we have our second example. Here you have g of x. So a function of g of x is equal to a polynomial expression x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 1. So remember, this is a polynomial equation because the exponent is arranged from highest to lowest, and then you don't have any negative exponents, you don't have variables on your denominator. So this is a cubic polynomial. Okay, ang yang degree, highest degree is to the power of 3. So here, we are going to evaluate our function at f of 1/2. So meaning, kung f of 1/2, the value of our domain or our x is 1/2. And then another one is f of a plus 1. Okay, so let's do it. For f of 1/2, so we have f of 1/2. That is equal to, no, this is not f of 1/2. This is a g. Okay, since atong function is in terms of g. So this is g of 1/2 and g of a plus 1. So g of 1/2 is equals to g of 1/2, which is equal to the value of our x, which is 1/2. So we have here 1/2 cubed plus 2 times 1/2 squared plus 1/2 plus 1. So here this is 1/8. The next one is 2 times 1/4. The next is 1/2 plus 1. Here 2 times 1/4, makancel na siya ma 2, so 1/2 na lang. So we have here 1/8 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1. This would be merged into 1/4. So we have now 1/8 plus 1/4 plus 1. This is not 1/4. This is 1. Sorry. This one is 1, then plus 1. What is 1 plus 1 is 2. So that is 2. And then adding a fraction and a whole number, so find the LCD 8. We have here 1 plus 16. So therefore 16 plus 1 is 17 all over 8. So this would be our answer for g of 1/2. How about g of a plus 1? So walay pangutan ani? Walay question ani? Okay, wala. So we have g of a plus 1. So here we have g of a plus 1 is just equal to a plus 1 cubed. So we just substitute the x on the x of our polynomial function. So a plus 1 cubed plus 2 times a plus 1 squared plus a plus 1 plus 1. So here, this is a binomial expansion anapod class. And I hope you remember Pascal's triangle para mas madali ta. So we have here 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1. This layer here represent a binomial expansion x plus y to the power of 3. So therefore, this is our coefficients of our terms here for the expansion. So here we can rewrite this as a cubed plus the second term has a coefficient of 3. So put there a 3a squared. So again, your exponent should be decreased. So mo decreased ka. The next one is again 3 na pod, then a plus 1. And then a squared in binomial expansion is represented by this 1 to 1. So therefore you have plus 2 times a squared plus 2a plus 1. So see, nakay coefficient sa leading term nga 1, the middle term is 2, and then the last term is 1. So 1 to 1 from our Pascal's triangle. The next, plus a plus 1 plus 1. So here, simplify further. So we have a cubed plus 3a squared plus 3a plus 1. This one should be distributed to each term. So we have 2a squared plus 4a plus 2 plus a plus 2. Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. Then, combine like terms. So same exponent and same variable, a cubed plus, for a squared, we have 3a squared and 2a squared. So that would be 5a squared. And the next, we have 3a and 4a. So we have plus 7a. And then finally, for our constant, we have 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 2 is equal to 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So therefore, this is our answer for our g of a plus 1. So do you have a question? Question? Ang a, what happens to our a? 3a, 4a, oh, yeah, napalit a diri. So, sorry, kanina siya is 3a plus 4a, 7a plus a. So, kanina siya class is 8a. So, thank you. This would be 8a. Okay. So, any question? Wala na? Sabtan ra? Okay. So, let's go to our next example. So since from our first and second example class in evaluating a function or a relation, mostly the given is the domain or the value of our x. Let's try class the opposite one. Let's say you are going to solve the value of our domain na pod. So this time we are going to solve the value of our domain x if the value of our dependent variable f of x is equal to 0. So what is this f of x? That represents our y. Given that we have a function y is equals to negative 2x plus 10. So nga na. Meaning, reverse ta. Since from the previous, ang given is the domain x. Here, mo na po na ang atong unknown. So what are we gonna do here is to rearrange the equation. So since we have a y of 0, so we can just substitute that one easily. So here y is 0, so 0 equals to negative 2x plus 10, and then isolate 2x on one side, so we can transpose that one on the other side. So we have 2x is equals to 10. Divide both sides by 2, so we have x is equal to 5. Okay, na 8 man siya. So this would be 5. X is equals to 5. So this would be the value of our domain. So class, simple as that class. Even if baliktaron mo, so if ever the domain is unknown or the range is unknown, as long as you know the principle, as long as you know how to operate or perform or to modify your function, then you will still get the correct answer. Okay, walay question? Okay, let's proceed to the next part. The next part is we are going to solve for the domain and the range of a function or a relation. So again, class, what is this domain, class? Unsa yang gi-represent, class, sa atong ordered pairs? Again, i-recall na to. Unsa ra gud ning domain? This is the value of our Okay, the independent variable x. So, and then our range is our dependent variable. Okay, dependent variable y. So, mga siya. So, here, of course, for every function class, nagina sila yung mga values sa atong domain and values for our range. Actually, class, for a certain function class, there is a wide range. So, na siya wide range of values. Let's say, from our previous example, katong money in your bank, gideposit, di ba? Ang amount nga imong gideposit X can have a certain range of values. Let's say, mag-deposit ka og 1 peso, 2 peso, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 million, 3 million, depends upon you. And then for every deposit class, of course, nadyo kay specific output nga y. So therefore, ang y pod mag-vary depende siya sa imong gi-input. Let's say, ang imong kwartang amount is 300, 400, 500, 600, so on and so forth. Now, the concept of solving for the domain and range is that we are going to map whether where does the boundary of these values. Let's say, ang imong gi-deposit nga money, of course, pwede tuod ka nga you have infinite boundary, so meaning the boundary is not defined. So anything you can deposit any amount of money as you want. But this is not the case for all banks. So in other banks, na siya limit or we have boundary. So that's why it is very important to know the values of all the domain and the range of x and y, so that you can tell whether your x or the independent variable will only satisfy to that boundary. Let's say ang ato dayong gi-deposit na money is up to 100 ra. So meaning mo exceed ka 100 class, it is not allowed already on our bank. And then of course napo kay, let's say napo day boundary ang usa ka bangko nga dapat minimum of 5 peso lang. So meaning if you're going to deposit 3 peso, dili na siya pwede. Why? Because it is not anymore covered by this limit. So unsay pangan gali ani nga limit class? This is called the domain. Okay, this is now your domain. So your domain can have a boundary or cannot have a boundary. So unsay pasabot anang walay boundary? Of course, your domain can be of any values, but only up to the real numbers. So unsa ra gay pag-represent sa real numbers? Again class, unsa pag-represent sa real numbers? The real numbers is from unsa man? Asa nagikan ang real numbers? Okay, from negative infinity to positive infinity. Maura jud nay boundary sa atong domain. Maximum boundary negative infinity and positive infinity, but actually di na siya tawagon gid class og maximum boundary, because of course kaning infinity is without bounds na siya. We don't know where it ends. Okay, and then of course class, your output here, or the amount of money that you'll be able to withdraw in your bank, of course, also in some banks na siya boundary. Let's say you can only withdraw up to 500,000. Then your minimum withdrawal is, let's say 5,000. So meaning you cannot withdraw 1 million because it is not covered by this limit or boundary. And what? And class, unsay tawag ani nga limit for our dependent variable? Again, say tawag ano nila? This is your range. So meaning mo na imong range. So below 5,000, dili na siya pwede. Kay it is already beyond or below our range. So mo na ang concept why we need to solve for the domain and the range of our function or relation. Okay. So let's jump na on how to solve the domain and the range. For me, I classify all the functions into 3 cases. So let's start first with the case 1. So for case 1 class, we have a function of a form of a polynomial expression. So we have here a polynomial and absolute. So I already included na lang sa absolute. So polynomial and an absolute relation or function. So for a polynomial and absolute relation class, naatay mga steps ni ini or pamaagi. Okay, so again, unsay pinaka simplest form sa atong polynomial equation? The simplest form is the linear expression or the linear function. So again, I hope na naamoy na learn from the previous, since we're already talking about linear equation. So for a linear equation class, what is the degree of our equation? Kung sa degree sa atong variables there for linear. Kung sa degree. Again, when we are talking about degree, it deals with the exponent of our variable. So for linear, unsa may exponent sa variable? Sa man class? And sa exponent kong linear, di ba kung linear, example of linear function or expression is x plus 1, 2x plus 3. Okay, so again, take note. Okay, take note for linear function, the degree of our equation or expression is of the first. So first degree, 1 ra siya. Okay, for a linear function class, mao niya ang atong buhaton. Let's say you're given a linear function of y is equals to 3x plus 2. Okay, to solve for the domain, in solving the domain class, you're going to transform our function here of the form y is equals to fx, meaning the dependent variable is only located on the left side, and then all the independent variables, including the constant, is located or are located on the other side of the equation. And then here, our goal here is to input any number for our independent variable x, such that the left side here, okay, I mean the right side, so this is the right side, such that atong goal, the right side should have an answer of real number. So meaning real number na siya dapat. Dili pwede nga mag-imaginary. If na mag-imaginary, meaning our function now is dili na siya real function. So dili ta pwede. We need to eliminate that one. Again, see to it that the right side of your equation or the right side of your function is a real number or a real entity. So here we have y is equals to 3x plus 2. Since ang polynomial function is already expressed as y is equals to f of x, then we are just focused na lang sa mga numbers or variables that is located or that are located on the right side. Here we have 3x plus 2. Okay. Kaning next step class is you input values of your x. So di ba x is your domain. Let's say mag-input ta sa atong x. Ato input gid ana is kanirang tulo. Negative number, 0 and positive. Mara gyud siya pag-test. So, let's do it. If we input negative number to our x here, let's say negative 100, what would be the result? Class, based on your calculation class, summary result, let's say I have here 3 times negative 500 plus 2. What would be the answer? Okay, negative. So meaning negative pod. So negative pod ang ato ang right side ha, since we're talking about the right side of the equation. How about if I input a 0? Di ba? 3 times 0, 3. I mean, 3. Okay, 3 times 0 is 0 plus 2. So, positive. So, positive gihapon. Positive. Ang atong left side, I mean right side is positive. How about if I input positive? Di ba? The answer is still positive. Di ba? Okay. Okay, positive. So, therefore, our right side here is all, I mean, mukan siya, mutama siya sa negative part of our real number line and also the positive part. Do you think mag-zero ni ang atong right side? Is there a possibility na ang atong right side mag-zero? Nabay posibilidad nga mag-zero siya? Naa? What would be the value of our x? Okay. Saman. So, siguro ang uban naglibog na, sir, nganong na, sir, nganong wala na makigisuwat dira, sir. So, para dili maglibog, di ba ingon ko, is there a possibility that our right side of our equation will become to 0? There is. Because in mathematics, or if you do it mathematically, so you can just equate this one, 3x plus 2 equals 0. And then solve for x. So we have here 3x is equals to negative 2 divided by 3. So you now have x is equals to negative 2/3. So therefore, if we input a value of our x of negative 2/3, meaning, sa may tabo, ang atong right side magiging 0. So here, we now have negative, we also have positive, and then we can also arrive the right side of 0. On the number line, di ba, natay negative, natay 0, napotay positive. So, unsay pasabot ni class? Our domain is, unsa man, based on this. Nga ang result dahil sa atong right side is negative, positive, including 0. So, what does it determine? Or what does it mean for our domain? Asa? All imaginary numbers? Our real numbers? Okay, so, since naadiri ingon siya negative, then positive, then 0, meaning on our real number line, that would be all real numbers. So, tanan dahil siya class for the domain. Actually, ang uban dira, siguro na uban nga, alams na, kay bisag, kuan, imong matamatahon class, imo siya matamatahon class, makaibaw din ka. Bis na pag imong panambutangan arad dira og pi, if you going to input pi, negative square root of 2, positive square root of 2, basta dili lang imaginary, which is square root of negative of a number. Basta, tanan, bisag Euler, ang answer gid na is a real number. So therefore, ang domain is all real numbers in interval notation, that is from negative infinity to positive infinity. How about the domain class? I mean the range. So for linear function class, for your range, be sure to transform your equation or your function into the form x is equals to a function of your y. Okay. And then, after that one class, see to it that the result of your f of y or your right side should be a real number. So, the same ra pud siya og concept sa pagwa sa domain. Okay, since our equation is y is equals to 3x plus 2, and then, since we need to transpose this one into a form x is equals to a function of y, so isolate na to si x. So, transpose this one and transpose on the right side. So, we now have negative 3x is equals to negative y plus 2. Multiply both sides by negative 1. You have 3x equals to, that is y minus 2. Then divide by 3. So you have x is equal to y minus 2 all over 3. Okay, magbase na po ta diri class. Again, buhata na po to class. Just do this. You're going to input the value of our y with a negative number. or 0, then positive number, or value of y that would make our x equal to 0. So meaning ma-0 ni siyang right side pod. Okay. Bisan pa mag-plug in tag negative ara class, negative y, ang answer good negative gid gihapon. Di ba? Negative 1 million minus 2 negative divide by positive negative gihapon. So negative, then bisag mag-input kag 0, negative gihapon answer. How about if we're going to input positive value? Let's say 1 million minus 2 is 999,998 divided by 3, still positive. So positive, nakay negative, nakay positive, then napagi possibility nga mag-0 na siya. So what does this mean, class? For our range. Kasi pasabot. Our range here is the set of all. Unsa man? So all real numbers gihapon. In notation, or interval notation, negative infinity to positive infinity. Ingana lang gid class. Mostly class for linear function. For me class walay restriction gid ba? Linear function gid siya, plainly linear function. For me, automatic class kay di ba? Based on our solution here, automatic gid class tanang linear function. Ilang domain kay range, all real gina siya. Ang iyang range all real gihapon. Mara gid na inyo hinumduman for linear function. Okay, na question regarding this. Na question? Okay. Wala na? Okay, question. Sige, sige. Okay, kani siya maabot siya sa mabaylon siya array, maubos. Ang case, dili na siya linear function. Kana siya class, rational. So, maabot na tayo nga part. Okay, so this time, linear function na gini siya class. Linear function na siya. So, again, for linear function, automatic gid class. Tanan nga ako mga na-solve na again nga mga linear functions. Both the domain and the range approaches to all real numbers. So again, if katong gipangutana, ang y daw is maabot sa denominator, then kana siya case class, di na siya linear function. Kaya nga naman, ano naman ko nagporma para ma-verify sa tanan. Let's say x is equals to, let's say we have here the numerator y minus 2, or just 2 na lang. Balhin man nato. So we have here, let's say y lang or 3y. Ato yung multiply class, may man siyang 2 is equals to 3xy. Then ato lang siya in terms of y. So we divide both sides by 3x. This case, our function y is equals to 2 all over 3x. As you've noticed, this is not a polynomial anymore. This is a rational expression since naa naman kay variable sa imuhang denominator. So, di na ni siya linear function. So, na gets ra? Okay. Okay. So, since we are already done with linear function, proceed ta sa next. Ang atong next class is unsay sunod sa linear function. If you have first degree, of course, the next is second degree. Class, unsay other term for is second degree nga polynomial. That is unsa? Quadratic. Kakit magtingog kinsa man siya. Cute magtingog. Basta. Okay, wala to. Quadratic. Okay. If the degree of our polynomial is to the power of 2, so that is known as quadratic. So, quadratic na siya nga polynomial or quadratic function. Again, this is of a second degree. nga equation. Let's say you have here y is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay. First one is we're going to solve for the domain. Again, on Sargotoy process class, in order to solve for the domain, you need to transform our function into y is equals to a function of x. Then see to it that your right side, or kani siyang imong function of x that involves variable x and the constant, should be a real number. Dapat ma-real number yung resulta after you plug in some values. Okay, so since our function here is already expressed into y is equals to f of x, which is x squared plus 2x plus 1, then walay problema. Ato na ning kitaon ang ato ang right side of our equation. Okay, here, let's substitute our x by a negative number. The next one is positive, and then the last one is, let's say, 0 na lang. So by observing class, the answer lang, or just by mental calculation class, sa may domain na to are, what do you think? Let's say mag-plug in kag negative sa imong x squared. Let's say negative 1 squared, o negative 1 plus 2 times negative 1 is, negative 1 squared is positive 1, then plus 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, then plus 1. What do you think, class? What do you think is the domain of our function here? Sa may possible answer sa atohang right side of the equation. So for negative pod, di ba? Sakto ba? Negative or positive? Okay, I have your calculator. Ato i-verify ya. If na yung calculator, verify nyo, bahalag dako siya, class. Bahalag negative 5,000 or negative 500 squared. Then we have 2 times negative 500. Here on my calculator, it registered a positive value. So therefore, mag-input kag negative, class. Bisag dako, class. Positive ang answer ani. Pero dili tanang input sa negative kay I know na ay usagid ani nga dili mag-positive. And what is that? Or mag-0 siya. What is that? Negative 1, di ba? Negative 1 squared is 1 minus 2, plus 2 times negative 1 is minus 2. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1, then plus 1 magiging 0. So therefore, moagi pa rin siyang 0, class. How about if we input a positive value for our x here? Let's say positive 100. Ano say answer, class? Ha? So positive gihapon. Okay, positive. Okay, so meaning unsa may answer sa atong right side? All real numbers, di ba? If natay 0 dira, positive gihapon. So meaning, if we already fulfill our goal nga dapat ang answer sa ato ang right side is a real number, so therefore, kani atong ipang input, di ba, we're talking about this one, the input. Kani atong gi-input nga from negative to positive and including 0, if mo satisfy siya, nga dapat atong right side is a real number, since kani siya atong gi-kitan are, kay real numbers man yung mga positive, 0 and positive. So therefore, our domain here is, ano man? Is it all positive numbers lang? All real numbers. Dili ta magtanaw, class, sa input. Diba, ang input nato is our domain or our independent variable. Dili ta. Diba, ingon man ko nga, ang atong goal here is to have a real number on our right side. Kani siya, dapat real number ang labas ani. So, bisan pag mo plug in kag negative number ara, ang answer real number gihapon kay positive man. Bisag mag plug in kag positive, ang answer kay positive gihapon, which is a real number. bisan pa mag-plug in kag 0, ang answer gyapon is a positive number. Therefore, kaning atong input is nag-range siya from negative then to 0 to positive. So what does it means? That our input or our domain is all real number. So in interval notation, that is negative infinity to positive infinity. Nakuha ra, class? Okay, nakuha ra. Let's proceed to the range. The range, class, from the previous example for the linear, di ba? Ingon ta nga, let's transpose this time our function into x as a function of y. Then kaning y ato ni siya i-assume or dapat ato siya i-restrict nga ang answer ani is real number. So dapat mag real number gini siya. Okay. Class, can we transform y is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 1 as a function of or in this form, class? Nga dapat si x na lang mahabilin sa picas as a function of y. Can we do that? Class, makahimo ba ta? Makahimo ta dili. Ang maka-prove ani pasar dayon sa kong subject. Zaza. Ang question is, can we transform this? Our function kaya siya, can we transform this into this form nga dapat si x na lang mahabilin sa right side, sa left side, and then as a function of y on the right side. So meaning sa right side, class, wala na x. Dapat x sa left side. Can we do that? If you can, then prove it to me, and then, wow, pasar na katanan. Unsa kan man? Sige daw. I-factor. Okay, let's do that. The factor here is x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 1. Tama? And then, what's next? Ang say ito buhaton para si x na lang yun, like only a single x should be left on one side. Nganong is 0 man, ang sa imo proof, y is 0. Okay. Like also I suggest nga square din square root. So let's say here y is equals to x plus 1 squared then square root. Hala, na makapasar. Okay, and then saan? Kasi squared. And then what's next? Is equals to x plus 1 divided by 1. So we have x is equals to unsa man? Minus 1. Oh, galing nga gid na ani ay. Galing, sakto-sakto. So therefore, ato na siya ma-transform into x is just a function of y. So agree ba ang uban ani? Sakto ba? Kinsa mo to naka-answer? Kinsa mo to? Dili ko familiar sa kuan gud. Pasar na. Oy, si Handumon. May appeal ba ka ganiha, Mr. Handumon, no? Appeal ba ka sa ganiha nga kuan? Wait, Handumon. Okay, maday kay I've noticed no naaman day. Naam day kaganihan na po karon. Okay. Okay. Sige. Okay na. So, sakto to no. Dapat kuan. Gamitin nyo itong kanani, tricks ani sa math. So, thank you. Kung kisa to nag-answer katong awang ikuan nga, i-take square root since perfect square man ni siya. So, maka-express data. So, see, ato na siya ma-express into this form. So, after expressing this form class, again, usay button, see to it that our function of y here must be a real number. So, here, monet na kita ang class. Unsa may restriction nato ani class for our y? Sige, unsay restriction nato sa atong values of y? Let's say, mag-input na po ta og value sa y. Let's say, how about if I were going to input a value of negative? Then I will going to input a value of 0, and then last one is I will going to input a value of positive number. Okay, let's start with negative. Can we input a negative value inside this radical expression? Class, maka-input ba ta? How about the others? Imaginary. Yan lang, 'di ba? Same man sa atong gibuhat ari, 'di ba? You remember sa ato domain, 'di ba? We input negative, positive and 0. Kay nag-represent man sila sa real numbers, 'di ba? Ang real numbers is ranging from the negative side, then 0, then positive side. The same thing with this. Since we already transform our equation into this form, square root of y minus 1 na, then let's input value of y from negative 0 to positive, and then let's verify if ang iyang answer is real number. So for a negative class, can we arrive a real number here? Let's say I will put here square root of negative 5. Do you think na i-answer? Ansa man? Walay answer. Why? Tungod kay mahimo. Okay. Char. Okay, sa taingan dili maka square root of negative. Okay, pwede you can square root even if a number is not a perfect square. So kata siya Mr. Mulig, pwede to siya. I mean, pwede ka maka-square bisag dili perfect square. But nay usa miingon nga you cannot square a negative number. Tama? I mean square root of negative number. So dili. Okay, dili. So therefore, we don't have a real number here for negative. So therefore, restrict din si negative. So yan yung class. And wala si negative. How about for 0? If we substitute 0 to our equation here, square root of 0 is 0. So we have an answer of negative. So butang nato naa siya. So real siya, real number. How about the positive class? Input kag positive number area. Do you think na kay answer? Na kay unsa may answer nimo? Di ba ang answer nimo is positive pud nga number, di ba? Let's say square root of 2. Positive pud. So therefore na kay real kuan ari. Real nga number. Okay. Since kanira man silang duha, so class, kita rin ha? Since kanira man silang duha ang mi satisfy sa ato ang equation here, kaning square root of y minus 1. So therefore, what is our range here, class? What is our range? Asa siya nag-start? It starts from 0 to positive numbers or positive infinity. In interval notation, that is, do you think this one is correct? Kaya itong kitaan, ito i-test ang inyong kuan. Do you think my interval notation is correct? Uy, naay midili. Nga naman. Gaya, uy. Oh, straight. Ngana. Ah, unsa? Ah, stapler. Makatawa mo stapler eh. Katong stapler brace to siya. Okay. So brace, then 0, then positive infinity. So again, ngano siyang brace siya? Because 0 is included. Okay? Pwede man ta maka-plug in sa atong y diri og 0. So kung 0 included, you put brace. Kay if ever ang imo iput kay kanang parenthesis, meaning ang imong gipasabot ana is that 0 is not included to your range. So since 0 is acceptable, okay, if you're going to plug that one in our function, it will result to a real number. So therefore, it is included to our range. Okay, nasabtan ra? Sure? Sabtan? How about the others? Okay, next question. Again. Wala na ako naklaro. At, sa kani. Ang range kani siya. Yung siya yana. The range is the set of all real numbers from 0 towards positive infinity. Oo, pwede po na. Pero na po yung uban. I mean, naay other nga pag naay other statement pag representan nimo. You can also use the set of all. Oh, sige B, mangutan ako. Naadyo ni siya. Sige B, mangutan ako. Unsa pa may lain ani? 'Di ba? Akong giswa diri is ang range is from 0 to positive infinity. Naadyo usar yun ka word nga mo represent ana niya. Sige daw B. Sige daw be, balik daw ta module 1, real numbers and rules in algebra. Unsa man class? Unsa may single word or siguro single nga ha? Unsa man? Again. Natural? Class, agree ba mo? Natural numbers. How about the others? Naimingon og whole number. Asa man gyud? Okay, na 0. Unsa man? How about the others? Kani si tagsa on tari be. Si Kaorte, unsa man yung storya ani? Unsa man ni Mr. Kaorte? Unsa man ni? Is it natural number or whole number? Set of all whole numbers. Okay, mingaw man. How about the others? Sige, ang uban na lang kay marag mingaw man. Aw. Okay. So since ingon ang kadaghanan whole number because yes, whole number included ang 0. Since diri included man ang 0, so we can state pala so based on kadtong ganiha nga nangutana nga sir pwede ba ta maka-state ani sa atong range. So in other statement you can say the range is all whole numbers. Kuha na gets or whole numbers. Okay, na gets ra? Okay. So let's try another quadratic na pod. Quadratic ta kay kani quadratic challenging mo ng quadratic nga part and mostly mo ni mo gawas. Let's say if you have a quadratic function y is equal to 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Okay, and then we are going to find first the domain. Of course, domain gini una. So again, you need to express your function of the form y is equals to f of x such that the answer of our f of x here should be a real number. Mao man ginato class. Dapat real number gini siya. Okay, so since our function is already transformed in this form class, y is equals to f of x, so we have y is equals to 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Again, i-transform nini mo siya para dali nato ma-solve ang iyahang domain. Next, you are going to look for the expression on the right side. Kaning f of x. Kani siya. Okay, sa right side, again, since we are talking about domain, so we focus on the input of our x here. So, naatay tulo ka inputs. Okay, na i-join si Mr. Contrast. Okay, here, again, on a real number line, we have three parts. The negative side, then the 0, and then the next one is the positive side. Okay, if we're going to input a negative number here, class, what do you think is our answer? Saman, class? Is it a real number or imaginary number? So, real number, di ba? Let's say 3 times negative 3. Let's say we have 3 times negative 3 squared, then plus 2 times negative 3, then minus 5. The answer is 16. 16 is a real number. So, butangin mo, real number. How about 0, class? Mag-input kag 0 dira, class. What would be the result? The result is real number gihapon. So, real number. How about for a positive number, class? Input ka drag positive 500 or 5 million. So, may answer. Still, real number gihapon. So, unsa may atong indication ini? If all the parts of the real number arrive a real number gihapon nga answer, unsay pasabot? Ang atong domain is all real numbers. So, ana ra gid, class? Dali ra. All real numbers. Ang atong process dire kani akong gi-box og hidden lines, mo ni siya ang inyong hinumduman. Mo ni siya ang kanang test values. So, ki-test nato from negative values, 0, and positive values. So, all real numbers, or in the interval notation, this is from negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, nagets ra, class? Gets ra? So, let's jump now with the challenging one, the range. Range, magid diri magdaog, class. Kay sa domain, as you notice, sa inyo ang domain, ang range man gud kay i-convert nimo into x is equal to a function of y, such that if we input values for our y here, we must have an f of y of real number. Meaning, ang answer nato sa f of y is a real number. So here we are given y is equals to 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Okay. So here, class, unsa na to, class? Do you think we can transform this into this, class? Kani? Do you think pa-transform na to? Lisod-lisod na. Lisod-lisod na. How about the others? Murag lisod na. But can we factor this? What is the factor, or what are the factors pala? Okay, x minus 1 and then 3x plus 5. So, kamo na verify, class. So, our middle term is negative 3x and 5x. So, that would be positive 2x. So, therefore, we can factor this. But, by having this form, class, is there a chance nga ma-transform pa gyud siya into this. Di ba wala na no? Lisod kaayo. So di ba class, lisod kaayo? Lisod kaayo. Sa may buhatan na taan eh. Any idea? Okay. Ang next step ni ani class, if ever dili gay siya ma-transform, so man siya inyong buhaton ha, lahi na punig style. If cannot be transformed, actually wala kayo sa libro gi-emphasize. Ako lang siya gipangitag paagi. Kaysa libro largo-largo na. Gi-state ra to nga if therefore nga siya mo na pud na ingana ba. Lahos-lahos ra. So here, class, if you will met a quadratic equation nga dili nimo siya ma-transform in this form x is equals to f of y, so therefore proceed this step. The next step is you need to solve for the roots. Diba naman tayo factor? Diba natin factor, no? We have the first factor is x minus 1 equals 0. Our first factor is, roots na din siya. First root is 1. The second root is 3x plus 5 equals 0. So, transpose 5. So, we have 3x is equals to negative 5 all over 3. So, we have x is equals to negative 5 all over 3. This is our second root. So, we now have the first root and the second roots. Unsay sunod class? Again, this, in order to test, diba, as you can see here on this hidden line nga box, this is our test value. Now, since dili man siya ma-transform class, iba na ang atong test value. Diba from the previous, ang atong test value is for the y. Diba? For range is for the y. But this time class, di man siya ma-transform, stick ra gyapon ta nga atong test value is for x. Remember this class. Since di man siya ma-transform class, if ma-transform siya, ang atong test value is for y. But since di man siya ma-transform class, ang atong test value na is for the x. Okay, nakuha ra? Nagets ra? Since ang ato diri kay dili man siya ma-transform into this, di ba? Mao man atong lisod diri. Di man siya ma-transpose or di man siya ma-transform. Meaning, ang atong test value na niini is ang x na, dili na si y. But don't worry kay pag test nato sa x, ato kitaon si y kung unsa iyahang possible nga mga answers. Whether y is positive, y is negative, or y is 0. So, nagets ra? Okay, so let's do that. Ato ibutang si y ari. So, butang ato si y. Again ha, dili ta mag-after ni x ha. Mukha ni ang atong gitawag nga test value. Unlike sa domain ha, di naman ni para sa domain class. Kay sa domain, ang atong test value, mao po na ang atong gikita. Dili ta nag-base. But here, since this cannot be transformed into this form, kaning x equals f of y, therefore, ang atong test value, atong basis sa atong answer, are different. So, x would be our test value, but we base our answer from our y. Okay. In testing, so, unsa may atong mga input sa x? Mag-una ta sa negative nga number. Negative. After negative class, isunod ang 0. After 0, isunod ang positive. Diba? Tulo raman atong test value class. Diba? Nasunod ra? Kinasunod ra? But, this case, nga namin siya, although kung bright na mo, inyong kanang IQ kay level 99999 na. So, ignore na lang ni kay pambata man gud ni nga approach. But mo gyud siya iyahang root gyud kung unsaon pagkuha sa range. So here we have negative, 0 and positive. And then in this case class, di ba atong case ani kay kung dili siya ma-transform, we add another test value which is the roots. Nagets ra? Di ba kay nagkuha matag roots ari. So therefore unsay significant sa pagkuha sa roots? So atong gamiton as a test value. Okay. So let's plug in. Let's say our x here is negative. So go back to your function. So magtry data class negative dira. Unsa may answer? Let's say 3 times negative 500 squared plus 2 times negative 500 minus 5. What would be our answer, class? Naabay nagkalculate dira? Unsa man? Unsa man positive? Di ba positive? Okay, positive. So thank you for the confirmation. So if na may calcu, ang answer nato if we input a negative number, let's say higher number, the answer of our y is positive. Okay, nanatay close sa atong kan ha kay di ba ang answer mag-base ta sa y, mo ni atong base, dili ta mag-base sa test value ha, mag-base ta sa y. So nanatay answer. Ang atong y dai usa na. Ang atong y kay mag-positive number siya. How about 0, class? If we substitute 0 to our function, unsay result? Sige daw. Mental lang. Negative what? Negative 5 because this would become 0 and this would become 0, di ba? So what's left is negative 5. So therefore, for a test value of x equals 0, our y is negative 5. Okay na nata. Positive ang y, class na niya. Mo jump siya pa dong negative 5. How about if we input a positive number? What would be the value of our y? Let's say if you have a calculator, 3 times positive 500 squared plus 2 times positive 500 minus 5. What is the answer? Positive. So therefore, butang nimo positive. Okay. Don't worry ini kay nag-repeat naman. So walay bago kay positive na naman, positive. Okay ra pod. How about the roots, class? Again, no need na tanan siya i-substitute. Again, unsa ra gyud principle sa roots? Ang root mo na siya naghimo sa imong equation equal to 0. Okay, tama. So nasunod ra? This is 0. Meaning, if your root, kaning 1, substitute nimo ang 1, kaning mga root, substitute nimo sa function, ang y nimo kay 0. So, therefore, class, from this, kanigid siya, class, mo rin imuhang kitaon, for this case, nga di na to ma-transform, unsa may atong range sa atong y. Unsa man? Na kay positive, na kay negative 5, then positive, and then 0. Unsa may range, class? Nagsugod sa negative 5 and then padung sa Okay, so it start from negative 5. Is negative 5 included? Okay, included. From negative 5 towards the positive infinity. Uy, na may 0. Wa lagi na apil. I mean na apil ni or wa? Okay, so na-apil na siya. Nasagap na siya kay negative 5 and positive infinity between this interval is 0. So in interval notation, this is again brace kay included si negative 5, then comma, positive infinity. So class, nagets ra? Klaro ra? So, di ba, kita niya pambata. Actually, kung mata-mata ko ninyo, na uban na makamata-mata ra. Sus, kani, kung akong butang positive, ang positive gihapon. Kung ako butangan ng x o negative, negative gihapon din. Kung ako na siya is 0 ang x, mag-negative 5 siya. So, mag-start din siya sa negative 5. Uban ba nga mga pas-pas na kayo ba? Pero, katong mga medyo kuan pa, nag-start pa lang, mga kuan amateur. So, pwede niyo gamiton. Mag-test value ka ni x, then i-verify kung unsay result sa y, which is our range. So, nasabtan ra? Okay, naay ni question. Okay, unsa man? Oh, example na ako. Ako lagi ipakita. So, taas-taas no. Okay, taas siya. Basta kay, sa next time, oo. Yes. Pwede rin gano'n mo, ayaw na ni apila sa inyong solution, kaning solving for roots pa. Largo na kagbutang og roots. Kaya ang roots niya, ma-zero man. Diba? Automatic, bisag, pa kay baon sa roots. Di man required. Largo naman. Basta, again, class, the roots are the values that would make your function 0. Okay, nakuha ra. Okay, so let's proceed to the next one, which is unsay sunod sa quadratic. What do you think? Cubic. So, cubic na ta. Cubic, ang degree niya kay 3. So, let's jump to cubic function, wherein the exponent is of a third degree. Okay, so let's say you have a function y is equals to 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 1. And then again, we're going to solve for the domain. So we are going to transpose this into this form, y is equals to f of x, wherein our f of x here should be a real number. And then, since our equation now is already transformed into this form, so y is equals to 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 1. So this would be our basis for our domain. So again, we use test values. So test value, this is test value, is our x. So this would also be our basis. Dili po ta mag-base atong answer. Okay. Kay na-transform man, di ba? Ingon ko sa inyo, kung ma-transform gay siya, ang atong test value is also the basis of our answer. So here, naatay tulo ka test values. We have the negative part. The next one is 0. The last one is positive. And then, let's verify whether ang iyang output is a real number or not. For negative class, unsay output? Unsa man? For negative, if we substitute negative number to our function, the result is a unsa man? Real number or imaginary? Imaginary? Real? Saman? Okay. So kung mag-negative ta ari, 'di ba? Cube root of negative number is negative, but still real number. So there is no possibility nga mag-imaginary siya. All real numbers. Okay, so this is real number. Okay. How about 0? Unsa may answer niya? If mag-input ta og x is equals to 0, what would be the answer? The answer is 1. 1 is a real number. How about for positive? If we input a positive number to our function, the result is still a real number. So therefore, domain, so sayo na kay domain, no? Domain kay all real numbers. So all real numbers. Or in notation, negative infinity to positive infinity. Class, sayo na kay pagkuha sa domain, kung nata sa case 1. Di ba? Remember, case 1 kay polynomial and absolute relation man. How about for the range? So range should be transformed into x is equals to a function of y such that our function of y here should be a real number or a collection of real numbers. So since we cannot transform, di ba? Can any one of you transform this y is equals to 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 1 as a function of x is equals to f of y? Na ba? Na ba, class? Kamo, can you do this? Can you transform it? Or unsa man? Dili kaya? Lisod? So stick na lang ta sa ato ang second condition. So unsa kita tong second condition? We let our test value as our x, di ba? Test value nato si x. And then mag-base ta sa answer nato ni y. Okay. Again, remember lang to mga test value nato sa x. Starts from negative. Then next is 0. Next is positive. And I hope wala inyo nakalimtan ang last. Ang sakit ang last? Roots. Okay, very good. Roots. So here, if we input negative to our function, what would be the result? Is it negative or positive? Dili na siya real number, class. Ato na ikuan nga, unsa man siya, negative or positive. So, try ta. 3 times negative 100 cube. I hope nag-solve mo dira sa yung calculator. Then, plus 2 times negative 100 squared minus 100 plus 1. So, my answer here is a negative number. Tama ba? Papa, how about the others? Nag-solve ba mo? Nag-solve? Okay, negative. So, thank you sa pag-confirm. So, this is negative. So, nanatay usa ka range sa atong y. Nga ang y day is naa siya ay part sa negative. How about 0? If we input 0 to our equation, what is the answer? Okay. Butang mo si 1. Ayaw pagbutag positive. Ang exact the number. Actually, ang negative, class, wata nagbutag exact number kay di mo po ni exact ng negative. You can have negative 100, negative 500, negative 200. Next, how about positive? Let's say we input positive 100. What would be the answer? Di ba? Positive. Positive. So, butang ni mo positive. Okay. Sige daw, dito sa roots. Again, unsa tong roots? Unsa man? How about the others? Okay, 0. Automatic, 0 dayon. Diba? Again, roots, mo na siya nag-make sa imong equation or function, 0. So, butang nimo 0. Okay. Here, class, magbase ka sa imong answer, ari. Since we're talking about the range. So, why ta mag-focus? So, here, unsa man ang atong range? Asa siya nag-start? Okay, negative. Abi na ako nag-start sa 1. Negative. So, negative infinity. Asa siya nag-end? Okay, positive infinity. Hala, asa man dira ang 1 ug ang 0? Nalabyan na. Okay, nasagol na. So, therefore, unsay pasabot ani? The range is the set of all values of y approaches to all real numbers or from negative infinity to positive infinity, or in short, all real numbers, di ba? Di ba, sakto ba? Okay, so I hope nga inyo ning nakuha or nasunod. So naklaro walay naglibog sa inyo. So again, if ever dili niya to ma-transform, jump dayon ka sa test values. Then jump po ka ani dayon. So kung mag-practice ka ni class, lahos-lahos na ka ani. Meaning ma-achieve ito ni mong kuan mata-mata. Mata-mata style ba? Marang mata-mata nga may nga na ang result. So okay ra, nasabtan? Okay, so let's proceed to ano sa may sunod? Sa may sunod sa cubic. Ano sa may sunod sa cubic class? Trinomial or multinomial? Okay, actually, di na nata kay murag ang pattern man gud sa quartic, ang sunod quartic. Ang pattern sa quartic mo reduce na siya into quadratic. Ang pattern sa quintic mo reduce na siya cubic. So, mara to yung mga common. Ang common na gid class kay quadratic and cubic. So, ang next nato is importante po ni ang absolute value. So, we have here absolute value. Class, in dealing with absolute value class ng mga functions, sayon na gid, sayon ra. Let's say, assume na lang nato nga ang absolute value class is linear. So again, let's start with absolute value wherein the inside of the absolute bar is linear. Example, we have y is equals to absolute value of x minus 3. Okay, unsa gali condition sa atong sod? Di ba linear ni? So tama, linear ni siyang x minus 3. So therefore, this is an absolute value function wherein linear in nature. Linear siya. So in solving this, let's start by finding the domain. In finding the domain class, again, transform ra gihapon. So transform nyo into y as a function of x, such that ang answer nimo sa function of x must be a real number. Okay, so you have y is equals to x minus 3. So again, test value ta. So test value x, mao po na siya ang base or mao po na atong basihan sa atong answer. Okay, we have here negative. So ato lang i-shortcut neg 0 and then pause. Okay, for the negative class, say answer ani class. For negative values, di ba ang answer kay? Okay, for kanang domain man ta, real numbers or not real numbers lang answer. Okay, real. Okay. Ngadto na to sa range class oh. Sa range na to mingon tag positive or negative or anything. Diri sa domain class, imo ra ikuan nga real ba siya or not. Okay, here. So kani siya mo gini rectangle more na ato wa na labot ng uban ra kanilang nasa sud sa rectangle. So real. How about 0? Di ba? We have negative 3. Okay, real gyapon kay the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So real gyapon. And same thing with our positive. Real gihapon na siya class. Therefore, our domain for this is all real numbers. Negative infinity to positive infinity. So, nagets ra? Okay. But class, the range. Mao ni pinaka dali sa absolute value. Why? Because the range for an absolute value class if your absolute value is of this form, y is equals to here, unya na kay sulod, wa na lain samok-samok ari ha. So wa na nagsamok-samok diri basta kay ngani ra. Kanira gyud. I mean nakuha ninyo ang concept. Wala na laing gi-add ra ba, wala kay plus 1 dira plus x nga na ba. Assuming na linear linear ang iyang equation. I think mo-apply pud ni siya class sa tanang polynomials dahi. O sige, tanang polynomials. So, not only for linear class, polynomials, tanang polynomials. So, unsa man class? Again, unsay akong giingon ninyo from module 1? Unsa gali ang absolute value of a number or any expression inside this absolute var? What is the answer? Positive. Always positive. Can we have a value of 0? Yes. Okay, pwede. So therefore, ang atong y ani, so sayo na kani ha. Basta walay samok-samok lang ha, walay samok-samok diri class, walay gipang-add nga anything. Basta as long as linear ang sulod or any polynomials class, di na pwede ni siya mag-apply kung na rational class. Rational, it's a different thing na, it's a different story. Only limited to linear and polynomials. So here, ang atong y is positive and 0. So what does it mean? Our range is unsa man? Okay, pinaka-shortcut, whole numbers. Hala, ni naglibog. Sorry kanong whole numbers man na. Of course, in interval notation, nag-start siya 0, nag-end siya sa positive infinity. Okay, mura na ibantayan ninyo sa absolute value class. If wala siya samok-samok, wala siya gipang-add, automatic nga na. So kung na yung mga sir, kung na siya gipang-add, so that's the thing na i-consider po nimo kung say gi-add diri. So if ever ana siya negative 3, so sige, ato na lang ko anan. Let's say y is equal to absolute value of something, let's say plus 3. Kani siya class, whole numbers gihapon. Nga naman, ang gi-add nimo di ba? Ang kaning entire thing kani, ang range nimo kay positive og 0 man. Nya gi-addan pud nimo positive, a whole number gihapon. Di ba? Na-gets ninyo ang pattern? Okay, kani daw B. How about na kay absolute value? Then you're going to add a fraction. Kanan, do you think atong range ni kay whole numbers? Dili. Okay. Kanang kuan ha. Actually, na natay gamayng sayop sa atong mga gipang answer. Siguro ang uban nakabantay, ang uban siguro wala. Kani siya. Kani. Do you think this is correct? Karon na nako nabantayan kas. Sige, think deeper. Do you think this is correct? We can state from 0 to positive infinity as a whole number. Do you think equal ni sila? Mayon ka ang range nato is from 0 to positive infinity, which is the same as you saying whole numbers. Okay, naihingno. Kinsa man? Si Ken Triste. So why? Explain to me. Okay, gani haragid ta ana. Okay. Okay, sakto. So nasakpan na gyud. Okay. So saman ang uban nakabantay. Karon pa? So si Triste nakabantay habat the others. Na pa jud. So di ba? Nindot yun ning daghan kay daghan tay makabantay. Ako nakabantay pug ko karon pa lang. So dili dali ta pwede makagamit aning whole numbers. Again, nga naman kay as what kanang Mr. kanang Triste told nga dapat ang atong range class naman siya ay mga fractions, which is 1/2, wherein kanang 1/2 is not part of a whole number. So katong tarang pang storya previously, delete siya pwede. Okay, naklaro na. Okay. Okay, bantay-bantay ha, bantay-bantay. Bantay-bantay dyan, bantay-bantay. So here, how about class? How about if I say absolute value, then minus 3? Unsa man ang atong range ni ini class? Sige daw. Unsa naman? So nag-start na siya okay, nag-start na siya sa negative 3 padung positive infinity. Basig na po yung answer ani from negative 3 to whole numbers. So ala, ana ra jud. All real numbers, good. Real numbers ni sa class. Dito makaingon nga whole numbers lang, integers, etc. So mali dito ato ang assumptions ganiha. So thank you kay ato nakitaan ang error kay if wala pa nato nakitaan basig ma-follow sa uban. So again, dili ta pwede ka state nga whole numbers ng 0 to positive infinity. Kay ang whole numbers is not included niya ang mga fractions. So na-gets ra? Okay ra? How about the others? Na-gets? Okay. Question. Sa domain. Oh. Pwede man ka maka-input sa imong x og negative, di ba? Kay ato biyang gi-verify nga kung mo input tag negative ari sa inside sa absolute value, ang answer kay real man gihapon. So pwede siya. Kay di ba atong goal kay real number man ang dapat resulta sa kaning sulod sa box. Sa range to. Sa range to siya. Sa range. Di ba? Okay. Dapat imong tigaman sa domain og sa range. Ang uban ani na ay mga technique. So kanang i-retain na lang to class. If na mo'y knowledge ani kung sa inyong style sa una, basig naglibog pud mo ani ako style. So you can do your own kay mo naman tayo hanggi kuan. Pero katong sa uban yung wala pa kakuan jud, wala pa alamag or nakalimot, you can use this. Anyways, if maanad mo ani nga kuan, siguro kung magsige na mo solve og mga problems, then maglargo-largo na. Makagets na mo. Okay, wala na pangutana? Okay, pangutana. Nga whole numbers. Dili to pwede. Kadtorang from 0 to positive infinity. Or pwede pud ka, the set of all real numbers from 0 to positive infinity. Dili ka pwede mo yun nga the set of whole numbers. Kaya ang whole numbers kay limited naman siya sa kanang kuan, positive integers and including 0. Okay, nakuha ra? Wala na yung pangutana? Okay. Since kanang kuan man. Okay, naanapod. Yes. Sakto na imong question. Unsa may tama? Is it from negative 3 to positive infinity? Tama ba na siya or dili? Unsa man? Tama or dili? Okay. So, nga na siya. Ang answer ni is ang range nimo is kani siya. Unsa gi range ani? This is from 0 to positive infinity. And then, unsa may range ani niya? Negative 3 lang. So, therefore, unsa imong answer ini? Ang range nimo is duha. I mean, you can have the union of the values from 0 to positive infinity, union of this number negative 3. Okay, so nanapod. Thank you sa pag-clarify. Kani siya, kay dili na siya sakto. Na klaro ra? Ha? 3 ra yun. Kay kita kung mag 0 ba yan ni unsay, okay, kung mag 0 ni unsay answer, di ba negative 3? Okay. Kung kani man good class, unsay pasabot aning from negative 3 to 0, maapil si negative 2, negative 1. Do you think maka-arrive tag mga answers between this? No. So, mao dito. So, thank you sa pag-clarify gyud. Ang answer nato is just from 0 to positive infinity, union of negative 3. Question. Basig na po may makitaan. Sige. Unsa man? Na okay ra? Na-verify ra? How about the others? Wala na? Okay na yung chat. Wala na bitaw. Okay na? Okay na. Sige. So, mas maaya, mas better good nga inyong gi-verify. Kay, lahi lagi ng negative 3 padong positive infinity. Dapat kanina good. From 0 to positive infinity and then negative 3. Okay. So, nagets ra. Okay, after the absolute value class, let's proceed to case number 2. So, case number 2 na ta. So, I hope dili ninyo ma-forget kay challenging gining pag-solve og kuan absolute value, domain and range. So, here for case 2, sa case 2 class, we're going to talk about rational functions. So, rational function. Sa rational function class, this is of the form, let's say our f of x is equal to g of x all over h of x. Again, unsa may restriction gali class for rational function? Naboy hint. We're in, okay, h of x must not be equal to 0. Mao gini atong bantayan sa ato ang rational function. Let's say you are given a rational function f of x is equal to 1 over x minus 3 over x plus 2. Here class, as much as possible, ang imong function dapat mag-comprise ra siya of a single fraction. So, imo siya i-convert in this form. Wherein natin usa ka fraction, numerator na denominator. So, in order to do that, okay, yes, we combine. So, we have x times x plus 2, our LCD, and then the first term is x plus 2, second term is minus 3 times x. Tama? Okay, tama. Then, this would be equal to, if you simplify, x plus 2 minus 3x divided by x all over, x times x plus 2. Here, x minus 3x is negative 2x. So, that would be 2 minus 2x all over x times x plus 2. So, here, that would be equal to, we can extract 2 here. So, that is 1 minus x all over x times x plus 2. Okay, nagets ra class? Okay, I hope nagets ninyo. Then, since naanatay form sa atong function of a single fraction, so we have here 2 times 1 minus x all over x times x plus 2. So, dili na ta mo proceed sa domain. Again, mao ni ang pinaka daghay restriction ang domain. Sa domain class, the first restriction is that your denominator, so denominator must not equal to, unsa man? 0. So, must not equal to 0. So, unsa day values nga maka-create or maka-resulta og 0 sa atong denominator? So, we need to find the, unsa man? The roots of our denominator. So, ato sulbon ang roots of our denominator. In higher mathematics, this is denoted as your pole. Sa akong video sa module 4 lesson 3, kung na nakakita, ako siyang indicate as the UV. Say pasabot sa UV, this is not ultraviolet, that is undefined variable. Kay mao man siya makahimo sa atong rational function as undefined. Okay, let's solve for the roots of the denominator or the poles or the undefined values. So since we have two factors here, you have x automatic 0, the first factor. The second factor is x plus 2 is equals to 0. So that is x is equals to negative 2. So therefore, mao ni sila nga mga numbers nga mo make sa atong denominator 0. So ang atong button is we need to avoid them. So you can just state here that x should not be equal to 0, and then x also here should not be equal to negative 2. Okay, klaro ra? Klaro ra? Okay, so after that class, if ang imong numerator is a polynomial, so yan siya class ha, if ang atong numerator is kanang kuan polynomial, so if num is polynomial, proceed din ka class nga atong domain is equal to unsa man. Sige daw, ingon diri nga dapat dili ang x mahimong 0, di pod ang x mahimong negative 2. Unsa man atong domain niini? You can state in this way. So sa ako lang ha. All real numbers except 0 and negative 2. Tama ba? Okay. Or in interval notation class, you can have this way. Negative infinity, asa naguna si negative 2. So this is negative 2. Do you think brace diri or bracket? Brace or parenthesis? Brace or parenthesis? This is parenthesis. Why? Ingon ba yata? Di ba pwede si negative 2 not equal to negative 2. So this is brace. I mean bracket. I mean parenthesis. And then after that, i-add nimo union of negative 2 asa ikaduha nga roots na to ang 0. So padung kag 0, then parenthesis gyapon kay wala magina sila mga labot class. Union of 0 padung na ka sa positive infinity. Nakuha ra class? Question. Nakuha ra? Dili, di ba nang-ingon ta nga kung parenthesis kay walay labot ang value, di ba? Di ba ang brace raman class ang labot ang value. Kung parenthesis wala nay labot. Sabtan ra? Okay, I hope nga nasabtan ninyo. And then in order to solve the range class, ang mas better way to solve the range is by using the concept that I have discussed to you from module 4 or from module 4 lesson 3. So naka-upload na to siya, although wala na to siya na-cover from the previous nga meeting kay taas jud siya. So I hope naka-view mo ato kay narito ang pag-test for every interval. Kay atong buhaton sa range class is we are going to test every intervals of our domain. So di ba? We have 3 intervals here from negative infinity, then negative 2. The other one is negative 2 to 0. And then the next one is from 0 to positive infinity. Di ba? Natay tulo. Ato i-test. First interval. We have negative infinity to negative 2. Mag-assign na ka class. Mag-assign na ka usa ka value sa x. Let's say atong x is unsa may mga numbers between negative infinity to negative 2. Pero wala labot sa negative 2 ha. Let's say I have here dili pwede negative 1 kay kuha naman na siya. Beyond na siya sa negative 2. Between naman negative infinity to negative 2. So negative 3. Okay, so you can have negative 3. And then you are going to verify kung unsay answer sa atong y. So in order to verify that one class, imo ni siya i-substitute ang kani imong gi-assign nga test value ngadto sa ato ang original nga equation. So diri na siya. Dira na siya. Okay, dira ha. Okay, so let's do that. So medyo taas-taas gid siya nga process. So we have here 2 times 1, ang negative 3 ma-plus na. So 1 plus 3 divided by negative 3 times negative 3 plus 2. The result is a positive number. Tama ba? Naabay nag-verify ala? Bisan pag magbutang ka dirag negative 1,000. So I put here negative 1,000. Ang answer good class is kan siya class kanang positive. Nakuha ra. Na-verify? So I hope inyo na-verify. So y here is positive. Okay ra? Okay ra? Okay. Nalagi nag-novena. Okay. So let's test the second interval. Okay. Pag-test natin is per interval. So the second interval is between negative 2 and 0. So we assign values between negative 2 and 0. So let's say negative 1. So here is substitute na pod sa ato ang function. So let's say 2 times 1 plus 1. Then divide by negative 1 times negative 1 plus 2. So the resulting answer is negative 4. So therefore, negative ang ato ang answer. So we put here negative. So this is negative. So class, nasunod na class? Tunod ra? Okay. How about the last interval? Let's say we have 0 to positive infinity. So you can assign x can be equal to 10. Pwede pod. So we have here y is equals to unsa may answer ani. So we have here 2 times 1 plus 10 and then all over 10 times we have 1 minus 10 man no. So unsa man, so 1 minus 10 divided by or multiplied by 10 plus 2. So our answer is negative. So therefore our third nga assumption class, so ika-third nga assumption is negative. So negative. Okay, so based on this class, natay negative nga answer sa y, naputay positive answer sa y. Do you think na abay answer nga y is equal to 0? Na ba class? Actually naa siya. Mo na yung ika-fourth nga interval. Unsa man ni siya? Let's test the roots of our numerator. Mo ni ang imo idagdag class. The roots of our numerator. Again, unsar gunay roots sa atong numerator? Ato i-equate ang factor sa atong numerator equal to 0. So if our numerator now is 0, what would be our y? So may ano siya class. Y is equals to numerator daw kay 0 divide by any number. What would be the answer? So 0. So therefore, na ay possibility nga ma 0 ang atong y. So from this class, from these test results, we have positive, na negative, nag-negative, na 0. So ipasabot sa ato ang range. All real numbers. Sure, all real numbers. So from our test result, we can say that our range here is all real numbers. Okay, all real numbers. So from negative infinity to positive infinity. So nga na siya class. Basically nga na siya. So na-get sa class? Again, don't forget to include the roots of our numerator. Wherein kana siya mo na siya maghimo sa atong function to 0. And then again, in order to solve for the range, please try to check the values for each interval. So i-test nimo ang mga intervals nimo class. So na-test na. Okay na. Walay pangutana. Okay. Actually kanang kuan dili na, because if you already know the concept nga ang roots kay mo na siya mag-make sa atong equation nga 0, so therefore okay na siya. Okay. If required nga mayon nga solve for the roots of the kuan, of the rational expression, so therefore imo siya i-solve. Anyways, magbase ra man ka sa roots sa imong numerator. Kay ang tawag man gud sa root sa denominator kay poles man. Actually, sa numerator na siya specific nga tawag, that is zeros. So kung naamoy control system, siguro sa higher subject naamoy control system, ang tawag sa root sa numerator kay zeros. So added na nga information. Nga namang zeros man, kay mo man ay makahimo sa imuhang rational function nga ma-zero, mo ang gitawag siya nga zeros. Okay, pangutana. Basta ha, if kuan ang atong domain na ginaay kuan ani, ang atong domain ra may naay restriction. Dapat di kita pwedeng atong domain mahimong negative 2 ug 0 kay ngano? Wala tay value sa range ana, ma-undefine ang ato ang rational expression. So nagets ra? Class, nagets ra? Okay, so let's proceed. Sa may oras. 6:18. Let's proceed to the next case or the last case. Ang last nga case kay for kuan ni sa class. For kuan radical functions. So if you have a radical function, let's say ato sa iswat for case 3, so we have radical function. So in a radical function, let's say you are given here g of x is equal to the square root of x squared minus 4. So for a radical function class, first you need to know the domain. Again, same ni sila sa case 2 class nga naay mga restrictions. So here, unsay restriction sa ato ang function. Diba? Since naman tay radical sign, for the domain, you must have or see to it that the expression, so the expression inside the radical symbol must be, unsa man class? Must be, dili siya pwedeng negative. So in other notation, that must be equal to greater than or equal to 0. Mora gyud na ang atong restriction class. Oh. Okay. Mora na ato ang domain class. Imo na iana class. X squared. So since mo na expression nato inside the radical sign, x squared minus 4 must be greater than or equal to 0. And then sa concept nato sa inequality, so just solve for x. So transpose this. So you have x squared greater than or equal to 4. Then square both sides. So our x is greater than or equal to, unsa man? Positive 2 or negative 2? Okay, plus minus 2 ta ni class. I-consider na to ang negative part kay naghisgot mong utag number line. Di ba ang number line na to kay duha siya ka duha siya ka section na siya negative part ug positive part. So ato pud ni consider dili lang ni siya ang principal root ang atong kuhanan ni class. Ang entire root gyud, ang whole root. Okay, so nakuan ra? Nasunod ra? So in other notation class, you can also write in this way. I mean, diri day class. Okay. Natay sayop ani, if we consider the negative part class, kani siya, sa erase. Diba, duha man itong answer ni. Okay, duha answer. For greater than, di ta pwede makabutang-butang na yun, di man siya equal sign class. This is inequality. If you consider the two roots, the first root for the positive, that is greater than or equal, greater than or equal to 2. But for the negative part, that is, unsa man? That is, dili pod. Kay kadto, kani class, kung natay x is equals to square root of 4, we can just state directly as x is equals to positive negative 2. Equal sign man. Pwede ta makaingana. However, for an inequality class, dili ta pwede kaingana sayon-sayon. Okay? Nakuan ra? Nakuha ra? Okay. Oo. So meaning, you need to change the inequality symbol. O, balihon na to para makuha itong negative. Diba? Kung kuan magod, na siya process, kung ato ipakita kay, we can multiply. So, kung ato ipakita ganang process, yan siya. Kay since gi-consider nato ang kuan, gi-consider man nato ang duha ka roots. Let's say we have here negative of x. Okay, diba? Let's say ang answer gid nato sa x could be positive or negative. Diba? Positive or negative. So let's say negative of x is also greater than or equal to 2. Let's say ato man gi-denote diri ang principal root. Kung mag-denote tag principal root, duhay answer to sa x. The first one is positive x is greater than or equal to 2. And the negative x is greater than or equal to 2 gihapon. Since negative ba ni siya, so mag-multiply tag negative diri. So the answer now is x. Since nag-multiply man tag kuan kanang negative, remember the properties of inequality, mag-change imong sign. So this would be less than or equal to negative 2. Nagets ra? Okay. Okay ra, nagets ra. So therefore, dili ta kay ato class ha? Dili ta kay ato nga positive negative 2 equal 9 kay since this is what? This is inequality. O mag-change ang imong answer. So therefore, that is less than or equal to negative 2. Now, if we're going to represent this into interval notation, so that is ingon diri ang una is greater than or equal to 2. So that is included ang 2. So therefore, this is not ay parenthesis, brace ni siya, and then positive infinity. Yun, kay usa man sila. Ay kaduha kay included ang negative 2. That is not, dili mag-una negative 2 ha. Mag-una ginang kuan, negative infinity. Or, para makuanta, ato interchange class. Una gid ang negative. So, therefore, mag-una ta sa ikaduha. Let's say, we have here negative infinity, padong ni negative 2. So, since included si negative 2, put here brace, then union of here positive 2 hanggang positive infinity. Nako, ara? Ang roots, pwede po siya ang roots. Pwede po ang roots. But, dili mo siya i-treat nga equation since inequality man siya. So, na siya something imong buhaton. So, manang gingon nimo nga if mag-considered ka, mo-change ang sign. Nagets ra? Apil ang to. Di ba? Di ba sakto? Square root of 0 unsa man? 0 man, di ba? So unsa ra dili pwede class? Based sa atong interval ni ini, ang di ra pwede kay ini 1 from negative 2 to negative to positive 2. Negative 2 to positive 2. More na dili pwede. Mo na siya giingon aning interval nato. This is our domain. So, nagets ra? Okay. How about for the range? So, mara gini class, balik-balikon. Kung makakita kayo mo class og mga functions nga nagisudan og square root sign, or ini kuan, square root sign, square root sign ta class, square root sign na restriction. But for cube root or fifth root, mga add, mga add nga mga index, wala tayo problema class, pwede man mag-negative. So, all real numbers to sila. Kanila mang square root ang na-restriction. So, again ha, basig mag-restrict pud mo cube root. Ayaw mo pag-restrict og cube root class, kay pwede man gud ang cube root na i-negative. Okay, nakuha ra? Ansa? Oo. Restrict yun ka class. Restriction gihapon. Okay, this is for even ha. Even ni siya ang mga index. For the range, in solving for the range class, balik ta atong porma nato nga mahimo siyang x as a function of y. Okay. Balik ta ato nga principle ha. So here you have y or g of x, or since g of x mo siya, so atala ikuan nga x as a function of g of y. So that is g of y. So here our y is equal to g of x, which is square root of x squared minus 4. So here, para makuha nato si x in terms of y, so we square both sides. Square nato para matanggal yung radical symbol. So we now have y squared is equal to x squared minus 4. Then, imo siya i-butangad to. Transpose on the other side. So you now have x squared is equals to y squared plus 4. Square root both sides. So you now have x is equals to square root of y squared plus 4. Class, unsa may resulta nga equation? Naaghapon siya ay unsa man? Radical. Okay. Naay siya kanang kuan radical sign. Again, if naay radical sign, mao na siya ato ang i-restrict. So here, ang ato ding value sa atong y should not be here y squared plus 4. The expression inside the inside this radical sign should not be less than 1. So it must be greater than or equal to 0. Should not be less than 0. Must be greater than or equal to 0. So nakuha ra? Nakuha ra? Okay. I hope inyo nakuha. Para di man negative. And then transpose sa food class. Transpose on the other side. So you have here y squared must be greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay. Square root here. Take the square root of both sides. Y is greater than or equal to hala. Unsa man eh? Unsa man na siya class? Imaginary. So, ibata na taan na. Ha? I-square o balik. So, mabalik ta nga rin. So, therefore, makasugat kayo maging class. So, ako rin magipakita. Basig yun mga, ay sir, kuhan sir, nga to aning range sir kay must not be kuhan sir. Must be greater than or equal to square root of negative 4. Wrong nakadaan. Kaya nga naman. Unsa may pasabot aning square root of negative 4? Is this a real number or an imaginary? So, imaginary. In this case, if sa pag-transform ni mo class, ang mo result is imaginary, go back na lang ka sa imong original equation. Again, unsa to atong original equation? You have y is equals to square root of unsa man x squared minus 4. So here, unsa pay uban method nga akong gihatag ninyo para makatest og range. So I hope nga naka-remember mo. Di ba kay dili. Actually, pwede ta maka input or we can test each interval, di ba? Nabatay example nga in order to get for the range, we can test every interval here, di ba? Namatay interval sa atong domain. Di ba katong sa previous, naggamit tag mga interval sa domain in order to solve for the value of our range or our y. So pwede ta makagamit. We have our first interval is from negative infinity to negative 2. So unsa may answer sa atong y dire? Let's say our x here is negative 3. What is the answer of our y here? Sa man class? Square root of 5. So square root of 5 is a positive real number. Okay, so put here positive. The next one, since we have two intervals, so we have here from positive 2, included si 2, then to positive infinity. Then select rapog ka. So you can say x equals to 5. What would be the answer of your range or your y? Mahimo siya nga 21, square root of 21. And square root of 21 is a positive real number. So put there positive. So here class, by these two intervals class, ang atong y kay all positive lang. Diba? All positive. All positive lang, no? Do you think makakuha taog ka ng 0? Sige daw. Kakuha ba tag 0 sa y? Unsa man? Unsa may value sa atong x para mag 0 si y? Oh, mag 0 si y. Okay, negative. Okay, so therefore, atong y mag-start sa 0. Diba? Unsa man atong gipasabot nga 2 and negative 2? Mo na siya atong gitawag nga kung sa equation pa na siya, roots of the equation. Here, natay last nga test value which is the roots of our inequality. Kay inequality naman na siya. Nasabtan na class? Di ba ganiha mo po natong gigamit? Katong rational, di ba nag-include tag usa ka test value which is the root of our numerator? Okay, here pod class, ato pod gi-appeal ang roots of our inequality. Kay inequality man ang resulta ning y squared must be here, di ba? Or x squared must be greater than or equal. Inequality man ni siya. Then nakuha na tong values kay less than negative 2 or greater than 2. So these are the roots of the inequality. So here, again, always good class. Kung ang root gali is good than 0 na gyud na imong function. So therefore 0. Based on this class, unsa man atong range niini? Our range here is, so included ang 0. So 0 to positive infinity. Okay, nakuha ra. Nakuha ra. O test interval. Gamit ka ni mga test intervals. Okay, oh yes. Kung di ma-equate. Gets ra? No, kandi mo nga part. Magini pinaka daghan di nga daghan naglibog ani bitaw. Daghay pa maagi ani. Now, mo na kong style. Naani siya migawa sa kuan during our time, dagay naglibog pa ani. Bisag naka-graduate na sila, kung imong pabalikon libog hapon. Kay kuan mo siya daghay pa maagi pag kuan, pag pag-solve for the interval of your domain and range. Nga mo satisfy gid sa imong equation. Kung di ka kanang kuan class, sigurado sa imong answer, imo i-test mo ganin diri pang sureball mo gani atong answer ari. Kaya naman gitest mo na to kada interval sa atong domain, gitest na to sa iyang range para mutugma sila. Okay, so walay pangutana. Okay, so let's kara. Okay, na pangutana. Yes. Yes. Kay for testing naman na siya class. Oh, for testing. And then for testing pod class, just indicate na lang class kung unsa iyahang sign para madali ka. Let's say ang result sa imong sign nga nakuha kay positive. So putang na lang positive di ay. Kay kung nga class, ang tanang trend bisag mag-input pa kag negative 4, negative 5, 6, 7, 8 up to 1 million, trillion positive gihapon ang answer ana, di ba? Nakuha niyo yung pattern. Okay, so yan na siya class. Ayan na. So, nakanra. Wala na yung question. Okay pa. How about the others? Hilom naman. Ang usa gigutom na. Ang saman, padayon pa ta or let's end na lang dire nga part. Kawala. Actually, ang remaining kay Piecewise na lang. Napa mo idea sa Piecewise? Slide. Sana all. Actually, sige, para di na mo magutom. Ako na lang ni-record class ang Piecewise o ang greatest integer function. Ang saman, di ba? Quick na lang ha, quick sa Piecewise, mura na kag nag-puzzle gali og mga mga functions. Imo siyang gipang dugtong bagi-usa nimo. Let's say na kay usa ka function, din na kay usa. Pero ang kanang mga functions kay unique na siya for each one. So imo siyang giusa, mura nga ni ang Piecewise. Say f of x giusa nimo, let's say this is bracket, so na kay f of 1 of x usa ka function, ikaduha, then ikatulo, so on and so forth kung pila pa na siya. Ana siya, and then here po second column na po kay domain nimo. Let's say ang domain nimo for function 1 kay mo na siya, ang domain nimo for the next mo na siya, ang domain sa third kay mo po na siya. So familiar ba mo ani? Wala na. Okay, it's already okay. Kana lang. Sani? Lots of conditions ang Piecewise. Sure. Bitaw. Sakto bitaw. Lots of conditions. So, parang gigutom naman mo. So, let's end na lang here. Atalay end. Okay na ninyo. Anyways, ang next is operation naman of function, and then ako na i-record. Then ako i-upload. Pakita na lang. Actually, ang ako rin yung gibanatan diri class is ang domain ug ang range. Mao ra man sa pinakalisod. The rest is ang pag-graph. Ang Piecewise kay sige, mag-touch ta gamay sa Piecewise. Okay naman kaninyo. Okay. Taghana na tong story din no, i-upload din sa YouTube. Sige, okay ra. Sige, touch lang sa Piecewise. Okay. Continue ta. Piecewise na lang last. So for a Piecewise class, mo na siya. Piecewise function is composed of two or more kanang unique functions that are grouped together. So let's say we have function 1, function 2, function 3, so on and so forth. And then for every function class, nagan siya corresponding nga domain. So meaning class, for the first function, maura gyud na siya dira siya nga domain mo-satisfy. Let's say ang atong unang function kay between na siya sa from 1 to 10. Di na siya pwede ma-apply class from 10 to 100 or more. More na gamiton nimo nga function for that domain 1 to 10. The same with function 2, let's say mo satisfy rin siya sa kuan from 20 to 50, dira na po da pwede nimo magamit ang imong second function. The same with the rest. Let's say our third function mo satisfy ra siya sa x less than 0. So dira na po na siya ma-apply. Dira na po na siya ma-verify. So here, na ako'y question class. For a piecewise function, let's say I have here an example of a piecewise function which is equal to this one. I have here x squared minus 4 and then 2x minus 1. If, so nanay condition na sa atong domain, x is less than 3, and then if ang the second function is x is less than or equal to 3. My question is, solve for the domain of our piecewise function. What is the domain class? Actually, 1 second solve dayon ni. Unsa man? Wasa nagloading? Ako nag-explain. Di ba, for a piecewise, the first column represents your function, individual function. The second column represents your domain of every function. So therefore, what is the domain of the piecewise? Wala ko ingon nga what is the domain for each individual functions inside the piecewise. I'm asking for the domain of the entire piecewise function. Unsa man class? Naiingon real numbers. How about the others? Do you think mo agree mo kay si Mulig man siguro ni? Si Mr. Mulig. Oh, marang kang Mulig din nga tingog. How about the others? Mo agree ba? Nga all real numbers daw? How about the others? Okay. So, ang pagkita sa domain class is dirita sa second column. Di ba? Ingon ko nga, ang second column represents your domain of your piecewise. So, here, mo lang nito i-interpret. Ingon siya, ang x daw nato is less than 3. So, padong siyang negative infinity. Sa ikaduha, ingon siya nga, greater than 3. Padong positive infinity. Ingon po siya diri class nga, include si 3. So, therefore, unsa atong domain? Domain is, yes, all real numbers. Mora na siya pinaka-simple class sa piecewise function. All real numbers. How about the range class? How about the range? So, butang ta. Range, ani? Class, in order to solve for the range, imo siya kuhaon ang range sa first function. Ang domain class alahi ang domain kay ang domain ani kay kani magong second column ra, imo ra interpret ang second column, while the range imong kuhaon ang range sa first function given ka sa imuhang domain. And then also the range of the second function f of 2 given ka sa domain pud ni ana. Let's say diri ang range ani, unsa may range ani ko ang imong x is less than 3. So unsa may mga values ana? Mga negative numbers. So therefore unsa may answer nimo? Positive, di ba? Let's say I have here dili tanang positive na ay part nga negative, di ba? Kay let's say I have negative 1 or 1. Di ba? So, ang combination sa imong y ari kay unsa man? Ma-positive ugma negative, di ba? Class, nakasunod ra? Okay, same ra. Same ra. Sige nira. O, ang kani, largo na ni. So, sige na lang para tong visualize green nyo. So, we have here x squared minus 4. Again, unsa na yung x squared minus 4? Quadratic nga polynomial. Then, kaning x is less than 3 class, same ra po na anatay interval from negative infinity to 3. Again, asa ang gingan ninyo, i-test nimo. Pag test nimo, unsa yung may resulta dire? Diba? Let's say we have here 2. Pag 2 nimo, ma-0 siya. Diba? Pag 2 nimo, ma-0 siya. Kay 2 squared is 4 minus 4 is 0. So therefore, ang y nato, ma-0. Then, how about if mag-negative 1 po siya, class? Mag-negative 1, di ba ma-negative siya? Or ma-1, di ba? Kay 1 squared is 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So therefore, nasa tayo nga mag-negative. How about if higher na gyud, like negative 5, di ba ang answer kay positive? And then positive 5 minus 4 is positive, di ba? So we can have here positive. Therefore, class, for our first nga range, for our first function sa piecewise, kani is all real numbers na dayon, di ba? Kabantay mo, class? All real numbers dayon. Class? All real numbers dayon, di ba? Okay. On the second function of our piecewise, we have 2x minus 1 such that our x should be greater than or equal to 3. So, in notation form, that is 3 to positive infinity. So, here, if we plug in 3, class, unsay values ato y? 5 positive, or you can just write 5 kay in this case need ta kung asa siya mag-start. How about higher than 5? I mean higher than 3? 100. So di ba ang answer kay ma-positive? Okay. So asa siya mag-start sa ato ang second nga function. So this is for our second function. Asa siya magsugod? From positive 5 hanggang positive infinity. Okay. So since ingon man ko nga ang range sa entire piecewise function, imo ni i-combine siya. Pag combine nimo all real numbers versus from 5 to positive infinity, unsa may answer? Okay, all real numbers dayon. Kay mas dako man eh. Masud man ang positive 5 to positive infinity. So all real numbers ang atong range ani. If the instruction is you are going to find the individual range of your piecewise function, then mo na imong answer. The first function is all real numbers. The second will start at positive 5 hanggang positive infinity. So nakuha ra? Okay, nakuha ra ang piecewise? Actually, in this lesson class, we're just aftering with the domain and the range of the piecewise function. In lesson 2 class, ako na i-show ninyo unsaon pag-graph sa ato ang piecewise and greatest integer function. So, i-record na to na ato class kay saman, sagot mo ko to balas 12. Pre-cal and chill. Module, pre-cal and chill na taan eh.